I don't know, 2006 of the recap. We're going to recap basically every Cubs playoff game since 2018, all rolled into one, as the Cubs managed to lose the series to the Brewers. They lost to the fucking Brewers.
Correct.
3-2. Just all it's going to do is encourage the Brewers and their weird little fans to actually think that they're the Cubs' rival, and they're not. But they have a rival.
Yeah, they got me convinced. They got me convinced. I'm 100% way more hatred for the Brewers than the Cardinals at this point.
Then
I'm sorry if you guys don't agree, but
you're doing it wrong then.
Yeah, maybe I am, but
that's just where I'm at. There's 140 years of history between the Cubs and the Cardinals. There's like a week and a half with the Brewers. We had to take them when they got kicked out of the American League, for God's sake. They couldn't even hack it in the American League. They had to get kicked out. Anyway, let's get all this shit out of the way here. And we have a very fitting sponsor.
Yeah.
That I lined up ahead of time because I had a hunch. So I called these guys and said, "Hey, how'd you like to sponsor the recap?" And they're like, "Hey, it's about time you asked."
Hey, boss, Auburn Funeral Service got a complete funeral package for $18.95. Get me out of here. $18.95. Get me up out of here. I'm going to Auburn.
Auburn Funeral Service, $18.95 funeral package, $5.95 direct cremation.
There you go. I tried to get Andre to sponsor it, but they don't have a commercial.
Yep.
So he referred me to R. Bernard instead.
Is there an indirect cremation?
We're so good at cremating, you don't even need to be there for it.
It's like if you ever watch a cooking video, they talk about like putting the food on indirect heat. That's how they cremate you, is with indirect heat.
Just melt you. You don't really
right.
It's
you just become a big blob of goo.
It's like a salmon. It's a cold smoke.
Right.
And of course, there's not a player of the game. There's a player of the entire postseason.
Oh, God.
I guess.
Yeah.
3 for 30. He slashed 100, 156, 333, and fittingly, he finished off the closest thing the Cubs had to an actual rally. So literally the biggest moment of the season.
Yep.
Runners at first and second. Kyle Tucker, Seiya Suzuki, Ian Happ. Tucker strikes out on ball 4.
Yep.
Seiya hits a rope to left that if Tucker had either walked or actually made an out that moved the runners over, would have tied the game.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't. And then Happ struck out looking.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I saw a bunch of people on Twitter saying, like, it's more on Tucker for blowing it that inning than it was on Happ. But at least with Tucker, he got a pretty borderline pitch too, and he at least protected with 2 strikes. You can't say the same thing about our old buddy Ian Crap.
No, he's like, well, it was close. So I took it. Good. That's great.
Yep.
You're still out, dumbass.
Yeah. Yeah, that was something.
So the Cubs are they went with I foresaw the order of pitching, at least at the beginning. Drew Pomerantz, who had been perfect in the postseason, so you knew that wasn't going to last, and it didn't. And then Colin Ray. I thought then Shota would be the bulk guy. Shota warmed up once, but never got in.
Yeah. Earlier today, I heard, I think it was Matt Spiegel say that they were only going to Shota like in an emergency, like Shota was not pitching today.
Would it really have made a difference, though?
No. Well, if the Cubs can't hit, then it doesn't matter who's pitching.
I mean, say it had stayed tied at 1, or imagine the Cubs had actually scored after that. Because you started with Pomerantz, you only had Thielbar as your lefty. And so if you got into a spot where you needed to bring in a lefty, it was going to have to be Shota.
Yeah, for sure. Or right.
So I don't know that, and Spiegel doesn't people don't tell Spiegel things. I would guess the definition of emergency then would be fluid.
Right, would
Because
yeah,
emergency there would be,
Right.
we need somebody to pitch to the great Bryce Terang,
right.
and we might as well bring Shota in to try to do it. Didn't matter. They pitched fine. I mean, they gave up
Yeah, it was-
Right.
solo homers.
Right.
Pitching wasn't the problem tonight.
The most egregiously bad pitch was once again to Andrew Vaughn.
Yeah.
That guy in his entire career has never hit a ball in the air that was at his knees, and the Cubs continued to pitch him like at his belt.
Yeah, yeah. It was like it was just an annoying way to lose. Like it was just annoying. It was
Well, brought
everything
back-
was with 2 out.
It
The Cubs
literally
couldn't do anything with fewer than 2 out. They just couldn't do anything with guys on base.
Well, it was funny. You know, the hockey announcer and Ron Darling
Yeah.
we kept going on and on about how the Brewers hit 3 homers with 2 outs. One of the reasons that they hit their homers with 2 outs is, unlike the Cubs, until they got to 2 outs, they weren't necessarily trying to, they
Right.
weren't selling out for home runs.
Right.
Yeah.
Once you get to 2 outs and nobody on, it's like, fuck
Yeah.
it. You might as well
Yeah.
take, it's
Right.
take 1 for the team and 2 for yourself.
Exactly.
And where the Cubs batters, you could literally see it. Once they
Yeah.
got behind, it was,
Yeah.
I'm going to hit a home run. It's like, God damn it. We've seen it in every playoff series since the 2017 NLCS. They just do the same thing over and over and over again. The players are basically all different except for Mr. Wonderful. But they still just do the same thing. I know it's like the impulse. We saw it in the extra innings and the Mariners and Tigers, but a team with a good approach, there's a lot of ways that the Cubs didn't put a lot of pressure on the Brewers ever during this series.
Right. Well, I mean, they sort of did. You're right. They had four plate appearances with runners in scoring position going into was it game 3? Was it just in 2 games?
Well, they only hit 2 tonight.
Anyway. Yeah, right.
No, they must have at least had 4 because they had 3 in a row. And when they all
Oh
made
yeah,
outs.
right.
Yep.
And that was the thing. Like even when they had their opportunities, they couldn't. Like you talked about it at the beginning of the, kind of going into the series about how sort of both teams just would were there to take advantage of the other team's mistakes.
Yep.
And there weren't that many, and there just weren't that many mistakes. And so the few that the Cubs, the one thing I'll say is the few that the Cubs made didn't really end up hurting them. Like even today's weird
All right.
error.
I mean, Dansby makes the error and they immediately get a double play.
Yeah.
Dansby
Good double play.
holds onto the ball too long and
Yeah.
barely throws the guy out. I was like, Jesus, Dansby. The Sal Frelick almost saved the game for the Cubs by himself. He should have scored from first on the ball that Pete dove and knocked away from himself.
Yes.
And then when they threw the ball away, he should have scored again.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
And-
he was
yeah.
on third base for all of it. Durbin was waving
I
from
was
where
just
he
going to
was.
say this. Yeah,
Durbin was waving
like
him
saying,
home,
go,
and he
go,
had
go. Yep.
plenty of time to go, and he just
Yep.
didn't go.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. So neither team really it was just.
But-
it was just a weird series where home runs.
What I guess
were-
I mean by putting pressure, I'm not even necessarily talking about just hitting the ball, putting the ball in play, making the plays.
Yeah.
But Brewers pitchers didn't have to deal with traffic.
Yeah. Yep. Yes.
No.
You had 2 rookies who came in to pitch,
Yes.
and Mizorowski pitched
Right.
with a guy on once when Churio played Kelly's liner into a single after say his homer.
You had the one inning with Ashby where Bush gets the hit
Yeah.
and then Nico
Oh,
gets
that's
hit by
right.
the pitch. Yeah.
I guess-
Right,
I
that's
guess
the
just
one
stands
that
out. Yeah.
that's the one that the big 3 fucked up. Actually, I mean,
Yep.
you can't blame Saya. He hit it really
Yeah,
hard.
he smoked that ball. Yep.
He's the only
Right.
guy who him and even Bush, who had a really nice postseason. He had 3 hits, which is great. They're all home runs.
Yeah. Well,
But that's all he had.
That's
Your leadoff guy had 3 hits in the whole series.
He had a single today.
Okay, so we got one non. So he had 8 hits for the postseason,
Mm-hmm.
leading off, which just means he really shouldn't be leading off, right? Like he should be.
Yeah. I think. Yeah.
Well,
Just because you don't take it, when he's the guy hitting homers and you lead him off, you're basically, especially with Shaw and Dansby hitting when the lineup turns over, it just means
Right.
he's going to bat with nobody on all the time. And if he's
Right.
going to
The
be
guys-
if he's going to actually be productive, it would be nice to have tucked him behind somebody who, like behind Nico, like
Yeah.
maybe he should have batted second. So
Right,
some of
right,
those were
right.
2-run homers instead of solos. That's what I'm talking
Great
about.
series. Yeah.
I agree with Craig batting him towards the top because he gets more at bats. That's fine.
Right.
But it feels like because they had so few guys and it went on the entire postseason, at some point that batting order there should have been a shuffle in that batting order.
Mhm.
And basically said, all right, we know Bush and Seiya are hitting. Let's do what we can.
Well,
Maybe it should be Nico, Bush, and Seiya, 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
And we'll maximize them because they were good all postseason and nobody else was.
And
Everybody
Chip
else-
still gets his lefty righty lefty thing.
To play devil's advocate, though, I mean, they did have their best hitting performance in Game 4. I could see why he wouldn't want to change anything.
Yeah, but it was the same thing in games 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
And they weren't.
They played how many games before Game 4?
Right.
I mean,
It was the same lineup every time, except for that weird.
they had 6 games
Turner
where they
thing,
were
right.
basically Bush was always
Yeah.
batting with nobody on.
Yep.
I don't think that, I'm sure they still would have put up a shitload of runs in Game 4, but maybe it would have set them up to be more productive. And then the rubber-faced giraffe got to pitch 4 innings today. I like the fact that they were like, maybe he's taking something off the ball because he's only throwing 100. It's like, no, he threw 50 some pitches 3 days ago.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have the
Right,
same
right.
fastball. And I thought the
Right.
Cubs did a much better job. They squared him up
They
several
did.
times.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just throwing a lot more breaking pitches. Like that was the good thing about the broadcast is they talked about that he was just his pitch mix was just different. And the Cubs, I mean they
I
when they got
really
fastballs,
thought-
they were waiting for him.
I was hoping that Murphy was going to leave him in one more inning because I thought if the
Yeah.
Cubs, if the top of the order got one more look at him, they were going to
Yeah.
hit him, and he was smart enough to know. But then he brought Ashby in, who created his own mess. instead.
Yes. I was so happy. Like Ashby hadn't been good the whole series, and that was
No.
like just a great continuation of it. And I kind of felt like with who was his last hitter, Tucker, and then he came. Was it Tucker against Ashby?
Yeah, it was Tucker.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was the
It
third
must have
battery
been 'cause it was
phase.
lefty against lefty, yeah. And like it felt so like I'm like it's going to be his last hitter, and then the Cubs are going to squander this opportunity.
Yeah. And then, Kyle swings at a pitch basically almost in the dirt, the bottom of the zone. Pitch hadn't been called a strike all night.
Mhm.
So it would have been really nice if your best hitter had walked there
Mm-hmm.
and loaded the bases with nobody out for Seiya. And then Seiya's
Well,
line, if he hits the same line drive, the game's tied.
The more egregious pitch in that Tucker at bat though was the one that was 99 middle that he swung and missed
Yeah.
on.
Mm.
Yeah, I thought it was fool's gold, right? He hit the home run the other night off Gasser, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah.
So he really hadn't, he didn't hit. That's the only ball he hit hard since June. Basically, since he came back.
It was like watching Jason Hayward all over again.
Well, unlike Hayward, who we had to watch for 6 years,
Yeah,
you'll never
Right.
have to watch Kyle Tucker again. And I'm sure when he plays for the Dodgers next year and he hits 44 homers and drives in 130 runs,
Yeah.
it'll be fine. It'll be great. I mean, we don't have to go over all that, but the one thing about the Tucker thing is just all we got is off season, so we can worry about all the off season stuff later. But the one issue with doing this, trading for a guy for 1 year, is he only gets one crack at it, and if he has an injury, then you don't get, and that's what they did. They went and they got one really good player, then they stopped. They didn't add on anything else. That's
right.
their new trend.
That was the thing.
2 years ago, they went and got Craig Counsell, and everybody's like, oh my God, they're really going to turn the roster up. Didn't do anything else.
Yep.
And last year, they went and got Kyle Tucker, and everybody's like, oh, here they come. They're going to make all these moves. They didn't do anything else. And then they can't understand why the team isn't fundamentally different. It's because you didn't change it. That's why.
You know what the sad part is, too? That if they actually were willing to pony up the money, Tucker probably would stay here. Because I think he is appreciative of how much the Cubs cooperated with him throughout the season with, like, all the stuff with the injury and then letting him go see his physical therapist in Florida. Like, if the Cubs actually gave a competitive offer to Tucker, I think he would be appreciative enough to take it.
Yeah,
What the Cubs are hoping for, I'll tell you exactly what the Cubs are hoping for, is that Tucker falls into that same sort of thing that Alonso fell into, that Bellinger fell into, where like
Yeah.
and like a lot with Alonso, it wasn't so much him getting hurt, but it was like with all the rest of them, like he kind of got hurt. Bellinger had the shoulder thing, didn't know if he was going to come back,
And
so that's
and
the
he's
thing with
still
Tucker,
out
it's not
there,
2
like-
years. Yeah, it's not
and he's
2 years
still
in a
out there
row.
like in spring training. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
So-
2 years in a row that he's gotten
Yeah.
hurt. They give him the Bellinger contract and hope that he takes. And again, they'll go through the same thing.
So you basically just said what I was going to say. To keep him, they have to give him a long-term contract. They have to.
Yes,
Because
Right.
he's not going to take the pillow contract from the Cubs because he's not going to want to have to try to put up huge numbers playing half his games at Wrigley.
that's right.
Because Wrigley maybe next year it'll be completely different, but the
Yeah.
last 2 years it's been a terrible
Yeah.
place to hit. And if
Right.
you're him and you're like, okay, I need to go somewhere and put up my 35 and 110
Yep.
again, he's going to be like, it's got to be somewhere other than Chicago.
Yep.
I'm not going to risk it. But I'm sure he would stay for the long-term deal.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
if your whole
yeah.
idea is I need to have huge numbers next year, you're not going to be able to convince him that Wrigley is the
Right.
place he should try to do it.
That's right. I think you're right. That's a good point. That's a good point.
So they can keep him. They're just going to have to actually pay him, and we know they have
Yep.
no intention of doing
Right.
it. I was kind of a joke when I made it, but I was also thinking the way Craig was burning through pitching,
Yeah.
he pretty much was like, well, I'm probably not going to need anybody in the ninth, so I can just use these guys. Because he would have well, I guess Keller got through so fast in the eighth, he would have
Right.
easily pitched the ninth, but
Right.
Right.
you can't count on that. I mean, he's
Right, right,
basically,
right,
and I
right,
get when
right,
you're
right.
behind, you just have to get
Yeah.
outs. You can't worry
Yeah.
about it.
Right. Right.
But I mean, we may very well say the Cubs had some miracle rally.
yeah.
We may very well say that eighth had gone like a normal, like Keller had to throw like
Yeah.
25 pitches.
Yes. Yeah.
You got
Well,
Aaron Savali coming out to try to
Yeah.
close it out.
Save it. That's like Mike Montgomery in Game 7.
Yeah.
Basically.
There you go.
Maybe it could have been Mike Montgomery.
Yep. There. Yeah.
Did he come?
Is it Michael Martinez?
Yes.
Is he still on
Michael Martinez was the
He's
last
still on the
out.
Guardians? Yeah.
Yep.
I
And
don't think so.
Yeah.
I also thought so. The Frelick thing I thought really helped the Cubs, but the other thing that I thought helped them was, when they let Joey Ortiz bat with the bases
Yeah.
loaded. It's like you go to Jake Bauers there, and then Andrew Montestero just plays shortstop for you the rest of the game,
Right.
and they didn't do it, and because Ortiz had no chance getting hit, and he didn't. I guess it also shows that Pat Murphy pretty comfortable with the 2-1 lead, and he had a right to
Against
be.
the Cubs. Yeah.
Because if he thought he needed, like, that was a good chance, that was the Brewers' best chance to score multiple runs. And he's like, we're good. I want the defensive shortstop. I don't care. He's going to strike out or pop up, and that's fine. And he grounded out. That's when Dansby made us all go, what the fuck?
Yeah.
He made the slow throw to second. It's like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
What are you taking so long for? But you know what? We talk about it all the time with Dansby's throws that like
Yeah.
he always tries to beat the guy
Yeah,
by a
just for
step.
that
Well,
So
this
maybe
one,
that's-
though, it looked like he got stuck in his glove. Like it
Okay.
looked
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he
it
didn't.
wasn't-
It didn't come out, and then he had to throw it. Like that was not a. This is just going to beat him. That was basically like
Right.
Shaw had one of those too earlier in the series where he was like, oh, on the rundown.
Oh, yeah,
between
yeah.
third and home when he got the
Yeah.
ball stuck in his glove.
Yeah,
and he was
yeah.
trying to get it. The other thing is a lot of infielders wear the gloves that have like the cross in the
Yeah,
webbing
yeah.
with
Yep.
the open and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Remember Shaw it was in the Padres series, maybe it was at the end of
Yeah.
the regular season, trying to win games. And he got the ball stuck in it.
Yeah.
He couldn't get the ball out.
I think it's more aerodynamic when you try to field a short hop.
Ryan Sandberg used the
Yeah.
weave. If it was good enough for Ryan Sandberg,
Yeah. Like the one that was. Yeah.
I just wouldn't risk it. I mean, why would you want one that it can get stuck in there?
Yeah. You wear the smaller gloves
Right.
anyway as infielders.
Yeah.
Right.
But usually, because I have a Ryan Sandberg glove because it's one I bought when I was a kid. It has the pocket
Yeah.
or has the weave in it. You can't get a ball stuck in
Yeah.
it.
Like outfielders' gloves have that. Like the outfielders' gloves don't have the the tic-tac-toe thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to talk to the Cubs about that.
Yeah.
But I'm spending the offseason. Moises Ballesteros is moving in to the house.
Oh, nice.
And
He's
Like-
taking Tavo Teravainen's room. Yeah.
Tavo's little room down here. It's just behind the divider back here. He's gonna take ground balls all year. He's gonna learn how to play third base.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
Perfect.
So we could trade when Matt Shaw. I'm sure he's. What time does Ice first shift in the morning? 'Cause he'll report for duty, and then he probably won't be available. So the Cubs are going to need a third baseman. So we'll take
$50,000 signing bonus.
I'll
probably.
get Moises. I'll get Moises whipped into shape. He'll be Brooks Robinson by the time.
There you go. Take
Nice.
it.
I was glad to see that he hit for Shaw in the 8th. I was worried.
You kind of had to.
Yeah,
it was. Wait.
And had he gotten on, then Willie Castro could have run for him because Willie was going to come in to play third.
Yeah.
And Willie Castro.
There you
Willie
go.
third.
Did
Yeah,
come
Willie
in to play
Castro was at
Yeah,
third.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the last time.
Oh, well.
Yeah, because you need a Justin Turner in case the rally in the 9th, and you could put him in wherever you wanted.
All right.
Still have that big bat. Oh well. I saw Fells logged in right after the game, basically saying that it's just perfect that the Cubs hired Craig Counsell and said do a Milwaukee, and the Cubs got the Milwaukee done to them instead.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think it's given the way that the Brewers players reacted to the 2 games at Wrigley. I don't think it's ridiculous to think that had the Cubs had home field advantage,
they would have
won the series.
Mm-hmm.
And they won't learn this lesson, but they built this team to just make the playoffs. That's what's their goal. When they got to the trade deadline, they didn't feel any need to really push it and get better. They ended up 5 games behind the Brewers, and they got bounced out of the playoffs mostly because they finished 5 games behind the Brewers in the regular season.
Yep.
But the other embarrassing thing is they basically, we've seen them now. They played 13 times in the regular season. They played 5 times in the postseason for 2.5 times the money. The Cubs basically built the Brewers.
Right.
It's one run separate because the Brewers won by 2 today. 1 run separated the 2 teams in all those games in the playoffs and the regular season. That's not supposed to work that way. You're supposed to beat shit out of these guys. That's what was supposed to happen.
Yeah, it's both a weird thing where how can you possibly be happy with the $230 million investment on payroll that you're getting, and then on top of it, how could you not even spend more? Like it's just this weird dichotomy where they should be better than they are based on the payroll that they have, but also why wouldn't they spend more to be even better than that? Like it's just this weird thing where the two don't really line up like logically, but they're both true.
For a moment the other day, I was thinking, okay, so Cubs, they go to Milwaukee, they beat the Brewers, then they play the Dodgers, and the Dodgers basically thrash them to death.
Yeah.
And the Ricketts look and go, that's the kind of team we need to build to actually win a World Series, right?
Yeah.
But we know
best.
they wouldn't take that lesson from that.
No.
They would have been like, we made it to the NLCS.
Yeah.
And look, we got an extra 2 gates.
Yep.
And it's just like they won't look at this and be like, we need to do a better job of using our financial advantages to make sure we are easily better than this podunk team. They won't do that either. No. They don't. And I know I at the trade deadline, I posted something like, it's embarrassing to constantly have a fan base that has higher expectations for the team than the team has for themselves.
Yes.
And a bunch of people got mad. They were like, oh, they can't say that. They spend a lot of money. They do whatever. And it's like, you fucking look at this team and tell me that the Ricketts really, really want to win. Like there's a driving thing that says they have to win. It does not exist.
Right.
They think it'd be kind of neat to win again. They won 1 World Series and they basically shut it down. They were like, we did it. Now maybe we'll get lucky someday and win another one, but we did it. Now it's money time.
Right.
Well, what I think they've done is they've calculated out what is the least amount that they could spend on payroll and still be and still not have a total revolt of the fans, right? Because if they spent $150 million on payroll, nobody would cover the games. It would just be.
Yeah, unless they were good.
But but they're not.
I'm just saying, like the only time, and just one of my some smart guy once said it's me. I say it over all the time.
Yeah.
I don't care what your payroll is. I'm not rooting for your payroll. I'm rooting for your team.
Right.
If you can find a way to build a 96 win team that you only have to pay $120 million, good for you. I don't care.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you build this team and spend $230 million on it, you're not fucking spending enough.
Yeah. So
Because
two,
your team's not good enough. So you got to
Bingo.
spend more
Right.
money.
Right. Two arguments that I would make about that. One is that, all right, great. If you can spend $120 million and build a 96 win team, then I would expect that you could spend $200 million and build a 105 win team.
Well, let's
Right,
just
like,
say you
fuck it,
build.
like, you
Let's
owe it
say
to
the
the
Cubs put
fans.
together. Let's just say the Cubs put together a roster and they win the World Series with it at
Right.
120 million.
Fine.
Then
But
you don't. Why would we care what the payroll was?
no, I agree.
The only time we
That's
care
true.
about the payroll is when
I mean,
is
That's
when
fine,
you
when
have
it's not
glaring
enough.
weaknesses like
Right.
you get to
Right.
the playoffs and you only have
Yeah.
2 starting pitchers
Yes.
or other things because you pretended that the luxury
Yes.
tax is something you can't go
Agreed.
over. And so you left
Yeah.
your team short of
Yeah.
players
Agreed.
you need, which is exactly
Agreed.
what they did.
Yeah.
So that's why
As
people are like,
opposed
they
to-
spend a lot of money on the team. It's
Yeah.
like, well, they clearly don't spend enough.
Yeah. Well, right.
That's
which
my
is
argument.
true,
I wasn't
which
really
is-
arguing
right,
with
right.
you. I'm just
Yeah.
saying the argument is if you want to
Yeah.
be cheap,
Well-
then you better build a really good fucking
Right,
team
right,
to
right.
be cheap.
And this front office
Well-
is not capable of that.
and like, what the hell was their payroll in like 2015 at that point when like the only guy making any real money at that point was John Lester? They win
Yeah, but they were-
97 games, and no, let me just finish this. That like they didn't lose to the Mets in that NLCS because their payroll wasn't high enough and they didn't go out and get enough talent. They'd lost because they were inexperienced and they got beat by a really good pitching staff. So like, yeah, to say exactly your point that like you can create a team that good for like not that high of a payroll, but it also helps when, most of your guys are like 25 and under at that point. This team only has really just Shaw and PCA
Yeah, I mean,
and yeah.
the frustrating thing about this is they're going to treat this like this is like a step, right?
Yeah.
But it's not. They're not building towards anything.
Yeah.
Most
Yep.
of this roster disappears because it's old and it's
Yeah.
all it's on short term. All the deals are expiring, and there's clearly nothing behind it. We learned that at the trade deadline when
Yeah,
they couldn't trade their prospects,
Right.
but suddenly these prospects are going to be good enough to take over.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
nobody wanted
yeah,
Owen Casey,
Right.
but you're going to pretend that Owen
Right.
Casey can be your right fielder next year. Well,
Right.
that'll be fine.
Right.
He'll hit
Right.
240.
yeah.
And
if
he'll
that-
hit 28 homers and he'll
Yeah,
drive in
right.
62 runs and
Yeah,
you'll be like,
maybe.
look, he had 28 home runs. I'll be like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
he's not any good.
Yeah.
And the
maybe.
fucking league told you he wasn't good because you tried to
Right.
trade him and they wouldn't give you anything for him.
Yeah.
Um,
But there's been, but it's not a but. Sorry. Like even if one of these guys, right? Because you have Ballesteros, he might be all right, but like there's nowhere to play him. Like it's this weird construction where it's just weird construction. And you're right. They're not like hoping that they go out and spend anything on pitching or anything on, like, I don't know. We'll have plenty of time for the offseason, but it's just, you're right. Like it's like I said, both things can be true where they do spend a lot of money on payroll and they don't do it well, and they can and should spend more. And it's really frustrating. It's really, really frustrating. Like as opposed to like your point about them only having 2 pitchers. The Dodgers were hurt all year, still wound up with this amazing team, and now have starting pitching in
Yes.
the bullpen. Like
Yep.
they're coming out with Glass now,
Well-
throwing 3 innings in the middle of the game.
the Brewers are just as screwed going in there as the Cubs were going to be
Oh yeah,
because the Dodgers have it set up. Their 4 starters, their starters for the first 4 games are Blake Snell, Shohei,
yeah.
who's starting before Yamamoto?
Yamamoto. Oh,
Glasnow.
And Tyler Glasnow.
Glasnow and Yamamoto.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And they spend the Dodgers spent the entire season basically just trying to make sure that when
Yeah.
the playoffs showed up, those guys were healthy enough to pitch.
Yep. Yeah, and holy shit.
Right.
And it did. And
And on top of that, and now the bullpen is also helped because now you have Sheehan. I know he's given up a couple, but Sheehan is now in the bullpen throwing 99, and they got Roki Sasaki as your closer.
on that roundtable podcast, they were talking about that and they basically thought Emmett Sheehan, if he was in the NL Central, would be this, or if he was in this
Yeah,
series,
I heard that.
he would have been the second best pitcher in the series behind Freddie Peralta.
Yeah.
And then Andy McCall thought about it a minute and said, well, maybe the third best. Maybe I'd give you Boyd and Imanaga. But basically they were saying when you get to the next round, when one of these 2 teams survives to go to the Dodgers, everybody spent the whole season going, oh my God, the Dodgers pitching is hurt and it's all screwed up and whatever.
Right.
You're going to get there and you're going to look at it and go, holy fuck.
Yeah, they knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's
it
right.
worked.
We kind of talked about it on the preview. They just knew what they were doing on a per inning basis during the regular season. They didn't give a shit how many games they were going to win. They knew they'd make the playoffs.
And they'll end up doing the thing they'll one game in this series against Milwaukee. They will basically punt.
Yeah, maybe.
They did it twice in the world. They did it twice against the Mets in the NLCS last year and still beat them because they won one of the games where they were like, okay, we can't use any of the good pitchers today.
Yeah.
We're going to
Right.
save them so we have them for the next 2 games. So if we lose this one, big deal.
Yeah.
And they'll do it again. They'll do if it gets to game 5 in this series,
Yeah.
they'll do it again. But then they'll be ready for 6 and 7 to overwhelm
Right.
the Brewers, and they might very well just win game 5 anyway because Mookie will probably hit 2 home runs now
Right.
because he showed up on September
Yeah,
1st and he's Mookie
amazing
Betts
now.
again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Not that it would really matter. I mean, it doesn't matter at this point because the Cubs are eliminated. But say they had won tonight and, Cade Horton would have been activated for the NLCS at that point. I remember when Fells was a host on the show, he made the point going into some Cubs playoff series that you should start, I think it was 2020, that Hendrick should start game 1, have a guy in between like Lester, and then go to Darvish for game 3 if you need him. I was thinking to myself, if they somehow pull this out, do you go to say Boyd or Shota game 1 and then Cade Horton game 2, just in case you win game 1 with Shota anyways, kind of the reverse of that you could maybe go for the kill in game 2 with Cade Horton.
Well, I mean, they had gotten Cade ready to pitch Monday. That was the whole. He was
Right.
he was going to start game 1, and they really going to need it because they torched through it. The difference 2020 was that was the first round of the playoffs. The pitching, you could line it up the way you wanted. This time, your pitching was all compromised, and I really don't think they wanted to throw Shota out in game 1.
Well, it would have been
if they hadn't used him today.
Yeah.
So they were going to start Horton in game 1. Plus, that would give them the option that if he was good, then you guarantee you're going to pitch him again in the series.
In game, 4 or 5.
Or if you pitch him in 2 and you let him go a little bit
that's
extra because nobody else is rested, because who knows what happens to the bullpen in game 1.
Right.
And all of a sudden you're like, well, shit, we can only get 4 innings out of him in game 6 or whatever. Yeah. But I get that. I get the idea. But in those, I would say in a 3-game series, you can't. I hope I told Sam that was a terrible idea at the time. You can't punt a game in a 3-game
You did.
series.
Yes.
Because there's only your margin for error is this big when it starts.
Right.
And you do not want to just be like, well, we could win tomorrow if we have to.
Right.
I mean, the Cubs kind of did it against the Padres by starting Kittredge in game 2. Because they tried to get cute. They tried to get cute with it.
They tried to get cute with it. Yeah, and still
Ended up getting shut out. And not that he was the reason they got shut out, but they lost. And then they had to come back and win again. It would have been nice. It would have set them up better for this series had they have not played that 3rd game. I mean, they really lost. We can bitch about game 5 all we want, but we were right back. They lost this series when they made Boyd pitch game 1.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's what everything
That should be hung around Craig and Jed and of the vaunted Pitch Lab's neck. But I don't see any. Nobody bitches about it but us.
No. Yeah. That was a bonkers thing.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, who knows? They still would have lost game 1. At least they would have had a shot in game 2, and then everything is set up for.
That was the idea, I think, because I mean, when you saw how well Boyd pitched,
Boyd to start
in game 4, they probably would have won game 2, and it changes the whole series. Then you don't ever have to come back.
Yep.
Or at worst, Boyd pitches tonight, and you get that same start.
Let's see. So we got some chats here.
Yeah.
Hap is a deer in the headlights. That was 100% true. We got a Dansby Blouser.
Yeah, at least Dansby can play defense.
Come on.
Dansby saved the Padres series.
Yeah.
He made
Dansby
four legitimately great run-saving plays. So Dansby gets a pass. But the thing I would like, it's that he's too old. He's not going to change it. He tries to pull everything, and he consistently gets pitched away. And he seems like a smart guy. Is he ever going to fucking stop?
I think
because
he might once you I think he's push is going to come to shove. He's got 3 years left, and Like 3 years or 4 years.
Yeah. I look at Dansby basically the same way I look at Hap, except Dansby is playing a much more valuable defensive position at shortstop than Hap is in left field. So, like, you know,
Well,
I mean, you'll get
Dansby-
some offense out of him too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For Dansby, it's fine to, like, he's legitimate above average when you include offense.
Yeah.
Major league shortstop,
Mhm.
right? Like, you have no problem playing him
Right.
every day. That's fine. Because
Pretty
you'd like him to hit
offensively.
You'd
anyway,
like
yeah.
him to hit more than he is, but he's an excellent defensive shortstop, and that's fine. Shortstop, you could still live with that. The issue we have with Hap is that the offense is so inconsistent in left, and the defense, despite the fact they keep giving him trophies, is not that good.
Right.
He's just
That's yeah.
he's a
exactly.
below average major league left fielder.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
And-
but I mean, even if Hap's defense in left field was to the caliber of earning those trophies, we still wouldn't care because again,
Right,
left field is not
defense
that
is not
valuable of a
important.
defensive. Right.
Yeah.
And part of the reason this offense struggles is that left field is a place where you should have a big bat. And
Right.
they don't really. They have a very
Yeah.
They have to come up with, they have to get cutesy and lock Chris Kamka in a broom closet for 3 hours with his computer. So they can say he's the only major league player who's had only major league left fielder who's had 20 homers, 30 doubles, and at least 80 RBIs the last 3 years. I mean, that is, you are parsing very specific
Yes.
numbers.
Yes. Yeah.
Because there are some left fielders who have hit who haven't hit 30 doubles because they hit 40 homers instead of 21.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that doesn't prove anything other than that's kind of a neat math
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
you found.
Yep.
That's basically all it is. It doesn't make him good.
Exactly.
It makes it unique, I guess. It's a fun fact. It's not
Yeah.
important.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, his WRC plus is so great, guys. It's always 120 every year. Yeah, look at what it is for left fielders damn near every year.
Right.
The
top 10 to 15 are always like 130 or above. You know?
And then one of the things, part of the reason that I think he kind of grades out as an above average left fielder still is with the DH in the National League. A lot of guys who teams would have put in left field for their offense are now their DH.
Are not DH.
And a
yes.
lot of teams don't have an everyday left fielder. They
Yeah.
kind of use left field. They
Look at the
have a lot.
Phillies.
There's a lot of platoons in left field.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, we'll play the rookie out there for a while we try to figure it out. But he supposedly, the Cubs try to polish that turd as much as they can
Yeah.
to make it seem like they've really got something.
Yeah, look at the Phillies. The Phillies couldn't care less who's out in left field because they're DH and the right fielder and they're well, being at the right field. Like they don't.
Mhm.
The Phillies don't have
Mhm.
a left fielder.
Well, and there's also some weird stuff,
Right.
like
Dodgers.
the Dodgers I think are going to get a left fielder next year because I think they're going to sign Kyle Tucker and then Teoscar is going to finally go play left field. But
Yeah, that would be a little.
Yeah.
like Juan Soto should not be a right fielder.
No.
No.
Like it doesn't make any sense to play
Right.
him in right field. Like he's
Right.
not a good defensive outfielder, but he'd be fine in left, and he's a great hitter. So, Hapa almost gets extra credit because some teams play a really good hitter out of position for him,
Mhm.
so that he can, they can be.
Yeah.
He's such a good left fielder. Yeah. Well, look, one of the best players in the National League is now in left field, and look, that's what it really looks like. Not Hap. But yeah, I don't want to do the offseason thing yet because frankly, it's going to be a little depressing because when you look at their roster, they're not going to change much at all.
I don't think so. Like I think I do. Like I said, I would rather not believe it. I really hope it's not true, but this might be kind of the high watermark for a little bit for this team because I do think that they'll
Maybe.
I think there's a better than zero chance that Chota's not back next year. Like I really truly believe that because I don't know that they're going to pick up his option. I don't know that. No.
So what's the deal with his contracts? Is that like this is an option year for him?
The Cubs can choose to pick up something like 3 years and $56 million, and if they decline that, then Shota has the option to pick up 1 year, $16 million.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't think
they-
Jed.
I think they will pick
I
it
don't
up.
think that Jed is going to choose that. Yeah.
I think they will pick it up because he fits their profile of the kind of free agent pitchers they sign.
Yeah, 300.
He
yeah,
is
3 years,
they'll
56
have
million.
him for 3 years at less than like
Yeah,
if a lot of teams, and I think the Cubs are one of them. They look at what the qualifying offer is for that year,
right.
and they kind of make their decisions based on, okay, if we let him go,
Yeah.
we're probably going to have to pay a decent free agent above the qualifying offer to get him.
Yes. Yeah.
And so Shota, they can lock in. They can get him for $20 million next year, $20 million in 27 and 17 the year after. The Cubs are one of the teams counting on they're not going to have to pay him in 27.
Yeah. Well,
They really, because that's going to be the lockout year when they try to force the salary cap.
Yeah.
So that's free money. So now you're looking at 2 years, $37 million for him, and I think they'll pick it up because of that.
Yeah,
even if there is one,
maybe you're right.
there is. This is a thing for the podcast. Next time I have Dave on, we'll talk about this. But my theory is that we're not going to have a labor crisis in 2027 because all the national TV contracts expire in 27 and the new ones start in 28. So what I think they're going to do is they're going to convince the owners to present a 3-year deal to the players that basically keeps the status quo. And I think the players will take it because they're already bracing for things getting worse. They get their TV deal. And then when that 3-year deal expires and they're now into the TV deals and they're signed, that's when they play Johnny Hardass and try to force the salary cap. Yeah. But they're going to have to convince some owners like the Ricketts not to push forward immediately because Tom is hell-bent on there being a salary cap. That's his dream world then where there's a hard fixed thing and he could tell the fans, we would love to spend more than this, but we can't. My gosh, we really can't. And Shota fits in with the, what do they pay? They pay Tyon $18 million a year.
Yeah,
they're comfortable with that contract. So I think they're perfectly happy to pay him an average of it's $57 million over 3 years.
Yeah,
I think they'll just pick it up.
357, right. I don't like.
But you're right. If they turn it down, if I were him, there's no way I'd pick up my own $15 million.
Yeah, I think he's going to get more than. I think he's going to think he gets more than $60 million.
Go get a long-term contract somewhere else.
Yeah, it may not be 350. Like that's the thing, right? Is that I think we're going to look at their internal.
That's true. Yeah,
357 million for 3 years. We could find and I think that they're right. I think that they're happy with Tyon and the way that contract has gone. Right, it's got one more year, and I think they're happy with that. And they're like, well, we can do that again. There's plenty of pitchers in that mushy middle. This is sort of the credit that I gave them for matching this type of pitching and saving money on pitching because they're not paying for strikeouts with the defense that also costs less because you're paying for defense and that's a little bit depressed, right? And so that match that they made makes a lot of sense. And they sort of and so I think that they can just do that again by not paying for strikeouts and not paying for huge offense. They're not signing, the reason why Tucker, I think, was so attractive, that was I think 1 year and he was cheap for that 1 year. And the defense is still really good. Like the offense was almost a bonus for Tucker. And so that's why they traded for him. And so I think that they're going after this team like it's a defensive team. That's why I think they were happy to put Suzuki in the DH spot, even though he's perfectly fine other than the couple balls that he missed. Yeah.
He, and the Tucker thing.
I'll save it for some off season.
Yeah.
Good.
I would say the Tucker thing, until he got hurt, it worked.
100%, of course.
Yeah.
Like he was great, and the offense was better because of it. Like I 100% feel like Pete Crow's breakout happened in large part because he's playing in the outfield with Kyle Tucker, where there were runners on base. Pete got better pitches to hit than he normally would have. It was hard to pitch around him because there's traffic in front of him. Pete got confidence. Pete's really good. And then until we got to Tucker's gone in the second half, and teams, I also think Pete became, and I expect Pete to be good, not great next year. Like, I don't think we're going to see a precipitous drop off, but I also think I think it's going to take longer for him to get back to this level. I think he will get back to what he did in the first. I think at some point he's going to become the superstar that he showed he was for half a season. I do think part of his struggles in the second half came from him consciously or subconsciously chasing the 30-30 thing.
Yes. Okay.
He wanted to do it, and he's there. It was a combination of teams basically stopped throwing him strikes.
Yep.
and he kept hunting them because he was trying to help the team by hitting home runs. Like, I'm a home run hitter. I'm going to hit home runs. It's like, all right, well,
yeah.
But there's also a thing I will never understand, and the team seemed like just not to want to do this. But I really feel like if they had gone into the postseason with Pete and basically said, in every one of these games, at least in your first at bat, maybe in every at bat, you're going to take until you get a strike. I know you don't want to. I know you want to be super aggressive, but teams aren't going to throw you strikes.
Yeah.
So if all of a sudden you're 2-0 in every at bat, you're going to start to see more strikes, and then you can start going.
Yeah.
But you saw it in the Padres, even from the very first pitch of the Padres series.
Yep.
They're pitching him above the strike zone. He's swinging at everything. And it's like, holy shit.
I thought he was on his way to that after Game 3, the 3-hit game in Game 3. I thought he was like on his way to turning around his approach at that point.
Tonight he had 3 really good swings. Like he had much better at bats tonight than he had. The ball that just went foul that would have been either a homer or a double, and then he thought he damn near hit a home right after the Seiya homer with Kelly on.
Yep.
Pete barely missed a home. That's a 2-run homer.
Yeah.
And then even when after the foul ball, he hit a ball hard to center field. So he had better at bats tonight. But I just feel like it seems like he's a smart kid. We know he's a smart kid. That's one of the things we love about him. When they talk to him, he gets it. He just seems to understand things. And it's like, all right, take a firmer hand with him early in this thing and say, this is going to be, I know this sucks. You don't want to do this, but you're all of a sudden you're going to get a bunch of pitches to hit, and you're going to, you want to be successful in the playoffs. But if you just let him just flail away, I just didn't understand it. I felt like they, I don't know if they're, maybe they're too dumb. Maybe it doesn't dawn on them. I can't imagine they're not. Like, I'm an idiot. If I can sit at home and be like, I think this approach would work, I don't know why it didn't happen.
Well, we don't know. You don't know what's coaching him, but there's that old. You don't want to take the aggressiveness away from him. You don't want him to just look at pitches and whatever. I don't know, man. I think Pete will be fine. Like he obviously pressed. You're right. He's fine with velocity. He can hit fastballs. Yeah. He can't hit high fastballs. Nobody can.
No, because he can hit fastballs, it encourages him to swing at the high ones.
Yes.
And Ron Darling he's so hit or miss, right?
Right.
Like some of the analysis is so obvious. You're like, I would have cringed to have said that, Ron. But some of it's really good. And they had on one of the at-bats with the ump cam, which is amazing. I'm surprised they don't use it more.
Oh, God, that was so cool.
Ron did a really good job of illustrating on a Pete swing why guys swing at the high fastball.
Yep.
Because they're looking for a fastball. The most effective high fastballs are like right down the middle of the plate.
Yep.
Because the player's like, holy shit, here it is. And then as you start to swing, you realize, oh fuck, I can't get to it. And it's too late. You have to either do a horrible check swing or swing and miss at it. And actually using the ump cam to show it.
Yeah, it was
when you saw the pitch, it looks like it's going right down the middle. If you're Pete, you're like, I'm going to hit this 600 feet. The problem is between us watching on ump cam once and a batter who has seen that pitch 3,000 times during the season, you need a good player like Pete should start to recognize, okay, when I see that, that's not, I know it looks good. That's not good.
Yeah, that's a good point. That might just be really hard to do. And if everybody could do it, then everybody can do it.
And I just hope next year that the Cubs are still batting Carson Kelly 5th, because he was so good in April of 2025.
Well,
I hope that
there's not a chance. Like, he's not going back, right? He's not back next year.
No, well, he's on a 2-year deal.
Oh,
yeah, he's back.
And
maybe Amaya stays.
We'll get into it on a.
Yeah, it'll be him and Amaya should be the primary catcher of the two.
Yeah,
which he was actually So
he
Kelly got a lot of starts early because he was hot. Mm-hmm. When Kelly started to cool off, to Craig's credit, Miguel started getting more of the playing time.
Yeah.
Because he's the better all-around catcher.
Yeah.
Kelly's fine. Like and people are like, well, they got 33 homers and 90 RBIs out of their catchers. That's great. Most teams don't get that. That's fine. But Kelly's also older, and Miguel is supposedly your catcher of the future. So at some point early next year, it needs to shift. So Carson still plays, but Miguel needs to get the majority of the thing. The problem with Miguel is what happened to him this year is what has happened to him his entire career.
Yeah, he just
He's
got hurt.
he's always hurt.
Yep.
That's why he
Yep.
never
Yep.
barely played in the minors. He was always hurt. And now he spent 2 years in the big leagues, and the 1 year he stayed healthy was the year he hardly ever played.
Yeah, well, that was the weird dichotomy of his career, is that they couldn't option him when they really wanted to.
Yeah, when they
Because
when he
stalled
was
his options, because he was already
when he was healthy and they needed to send him to Iowa to catch and get experience, they would have lost
couldn't do
him.
it.
So he had to just get parked on the bench.
Yeah,
But he is a good player.
he's a really good player. I like him a lot.
And then
Well, we got all.
we got to carry 3 catchers next year because you got to have the carjacker on your team.
Look, I brought it up a couple times. I'll save it for a future podcast we do in the off season. I feel like there's another catching option out there that would, if they make the move for it would be similar to the Kyle Tucker move that they did last off season. And I feel like it would be the perfect like safety net. No, not Victor Caratini. Ugh.
No.
But it would kind of be the perfect safety net for a Carson Kelly regression where you would automatically feel good with this guy as your starting catcher, and Carson Kelly could, go back to being like the backup role that he always was supposed to be on this team before he got off to his hot start.
You hate Miguel Amaya.
I guess he hates Miguel Amaya.
Look, if Miguel Amaya could ever stay healthy enough to play like 60 games, I'd be on board with him. But that has not been the case.
I'm trying to figure out who you're talking about. Who could come in and be the number 1 catcher? And I think I know who you're talking about. And
Is it Alejandro Kirk?
Not Alejandro Kirk. You got the division
Because
rights.
if you signed him,
Oh.
if you signed him and you told Matt that he's Charlie's brother, they'd be best friends.
Ooh, there you go.
I think I know what you're saying is.
I
I think I know what you're saying.
I don't know how Matt Shaw would feel about someone named Alejandro being in the same infield as him.
But
Kirk.
it would blow his mind.
Yeah.
Kirk.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Are you any relation?
Prospect. Yeah, because the number 1 prospect's a catcher, and so.
We're on the same page.
So that brings up another point for the offseason podcast, which is, I might as well get into it for just a minute here. Why not? It's basically offseason started. It started when they fell down 2-1.
Yeah.
They're not going to bring Tucker back.
Right.
So the easy solution is Seiya goes back to right field, and now you have your DH spot is open, and you could just make Moises Ballesteros your DH because he's like your 3rd best hitter
Makes
now
most
anyway.
sense.
Right.
Or do they instead say, all right, you're going to spend at least the first half of 2026. This is your prove it time. Do you have any future as a catcher? Does he stay at Iowa for the first half of the season? And it's like a crash course on, all right, you're going to prove to us that you can catch or not.
I think
He would be worth, if he was a competent catcher, he would be worth so much to this team.
Yeah.
He apparently has shown very little signs that he's going to be.
Well,
a
if they would have
catcher.
done it, they would have. If they would have done that, they would have done it this year. Like this would have been the year to do it because he actually would have been at Iowa. And but they didn't do it. Right? He didn't catch in Iowa this year.
He did, but he split. He was never the primary catcher, which is weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
So that answers my question then. So then, for me, that's very simple. Well, I know what I would do is I would go have the talk with Ian, and I would basically say, you and I'm Jed. You do the thing where you show up on his porch like David Ross, and you ring the doorbell. You call. It's like, are you home? Because I'm on your porch.
Oh.
He did it to Ricky Renneria. He did it to David Ross. He needs to do it to Hap. And you sit down and say, you have a year left, and you're no longer a full-time player for the Chicago Cubs.
Right.
So it's probably in your best interest. Yep. Why don't we work together and trade you to a team where you're going to be a full-time player so that you go into free agency off of a full season?
Yeah.
If you stay here, we're going to find somebody else to play left field, and you're going to become a part-time player. And in that scenario, you spend a lot of money, you re-sign Kyle Tucker, and then Seiya is your left fielder, and hopefully you trade Hap, and then Moises can be your DH. The chances of that happening are, well, I'm not going to say completely zero because I literally said on this podcast after the 2023 season, there was no chance in hell they would fire David Ross.
Ha!
and they did.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but there's a very small. It's a very very small.
You wouldn't want it'd be lightning striking twice.
Have to break out the microscope for it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Speaking of which, thinking of, if the Cubs ever worked up the courage to say that to Ian Happ, did you see who opted out of his contract?
Cody.
Bring back Cody Bellinger, maybe. Yeah.
I spent the whole year in dark moments thinking, what if they acted like a real baseball team and Cody had been their left fielder?
Yeah.
You had a legitimate Gold Glove left fielder, a guy who hit 30 homers for the Yankees.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
A guy who gives the manager all kinds of flexibility. So like when you prematurely pinch hit for Michael Bush,
Yep.
you don't have to play.
Yeah.
You don't have to play Justin Turner at first base. Cody
What a
just
perfect
comes in from the outfield and
Yeah.
plays first base, and you put a real outfielder in left. I
Yeah.
mean,
and then who cares?
the roster would have been so much better,
Mhm.
and they traded him for nothing, and
Yeah.
they sent money to the Yankees for it. It's like,
Yeah.
honestly, had they gotten something of use for it, I would have been more fine with it. But they didn't even try. Like the Yankees were willing to take him, and they're like, okay, good, let's do it. We got to do this as quickly as possible for reasons.
Yeah.
Like a real team, everybody comes to spring training, and you wait for an injury, and then you get somebody over the barrel, and that's when you try to do a Cody Bellinger trade.
They just didn't other than I don't know. It was like this one shining moment of them getting Tucker, and then that was it.
Well, it was just that move only made sense if it was going to be followed by a bunch of other moves that they just didn't do.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, they went all in.
Right.
No, they didn't. All they did was they made like one irresponsible bid. They just like they.
I saw that.
All right, I raise you
Yeah.
half of my stack. Not enough to get you to fold. So now I'm
Yeah.
going to lose that hand, and I'm just going to lose that money. Whereas if
Yeah.
I go all in and I actually go out and we add to it and we go get a real top of the rotation starter and we do that stuff and we say, all right, we're going to lose Tucker at the end of the year, but you know what we're going to do? We're going to put a really good team out there. We're going to try to win the World Series. And they didn't do it.
There was value in getting Tucker for 1 year. I don't know.
That move was clearly made.
Yeah.
In their minds, it worked because they made the playoffs. They played 4 home playoff games.
Yep.
Look at us. What a great deal. And then for the fans, it's like, well, a year later, we got nothing to show for it.
Yep. Well,
you got a 5-game loss to the Brewers to show for it. Yeah. Honestly, it was a fun year for half the year. We basically spent the whole second half just frustrated.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Right.
That was why I don't. Yeah.
And they won a round in the playoffs. They won a round they shouldn't have been playing in.
Right.
They should have been a wild card team.
Correct.
So congratulations, you won the round that you backed into because your roster wasn't as good as you thought it was.
Yep.
So that's what you accomplished this year, Jed. Congratulations. But he got a 5-year extension, so what does he give a shit?
That's the thing, right? That's what you continue to talk about. It's like even if you didn't have, I mean, you shouldn't have salary. It's true that they spent a lot of money on payroll, and it's also true that it's not enough.
Because they don't spend
the thing
they
that's
didn't spend and it wasn't enough.
The thing that sucks too is that, like, I got into a bunch of arguments with some friends of mine about this too. That, like, say that they had played at the pace they did through April and May, which I think was like a 6:21 pace, went 36-22 through the first 58 games. If they continued that pace, like, it's not like they would have built up as big a lead as the Brewers did at their highest point. It probably wouldn't have been a dogfight at that entire point. So it's probably not realistic to think that they would, play to a level where they would win the division comfortably. However, you get like 1 or 2, pieces at the deadline that, like, some of the games you lost in August and September get flipped to wins. You beat out the Padres for the top wild card spot by a much more comfortable margin, and you have more than just say, I mean, they clinched the top spot on the second to last day of the season. So you only had 1 game where you could really, like, experiment and see what you got, instead of, like, if you get a number 2 starter, you go get Merrill Kelly, then maybe you get like 3 or 4 more wins, and you have like a week where you can like experiment with what you have. And instead, like every damn game except for one was a must-win game the entire time.
Yeah. Well, and the other advantage would be if they had actually added at the deadline, filled the needs we knew they had, they would have been much better equipped to have won this series.
Like,
You know, if you had another starter, if you'd added somebody other than Mike Soroka,
yeah,
you wouldn't have had to go to Matt Boyd in game 1. And then you'd have had Boyd and Shota on real rest, and you'd have probably won the series. So even if they hadn't been able to maintain that pace, if they had simply, you don't even have to go back and worry about that. If they had simply made if Jet had been willing to pay what it cost to actually improve the team at the deadline, this series is pretty apparent. They would have beaten the Brewers and they'd be playing the Dodgers now.
I'd even go back to, and we talked about this way back in probably March, that we knew that they needed a starter then, and that was before Steele got hurt. Like, one more starter would have been great.
Yeah,
of course, that was also before anybody kind of knew how good Boyd would end up being. But even then, like, looking through, or how good Boyd ended up being, but even looking through the whole theme, it's always been, you need a starter. And so it was like, them coming out to this hot, like, start and them being really, really good was just, you know, you almost like, you have to look at that as putting that in the bank. Like, holy shit, we didn't realize that we'd be this good. Great, we were wonderful. Now if we add on, like, now you can really get moving. Like, there was no reason for them not to be able to, like, get Garrett Crochet. There was no reason for them not to be able to, like, go out and get somebody who would have
But the Red Sox weren't going to sell Garrett Crochet.
Not the Red Sox.
Get him from the White Sox.
From the White Sox.
Oh, you're saying when he got traded the first time around. Okay.
Like, right. There was no reason for, of course they're not getting him from the Red Sox, but there was no reason for them to not be in on some of these starters. Like, you know, Blake Snell got signed by the Dodgers. Like, it wasn't even that huge of a contract. Like, why aren't the Cubs in on those?
Right. And then if the answer to some of that is, because the Blake Snell thing, I think, is part of this, because the Giants ran into this. If part of it is he was willing to take an odd contract structure from the Dodgers, he still gets a shitload of money, but an odd contract structure from the Dodgers, and you're like, well, the Dodgers could do that. That's because the fucking Dodgers have earned that. They've earned that because they've been so good for so long that players are like, oh, if I go there, I'm gonna pitch in the World Series.
Yeah, I'm gonna be good, and then I get all this money later.
And to the Dodgers' credit, like, they do occasionally get a player for less than what he might get offered somewhere else because he wants to play for the Dodgers. But mostly they pay full boat. They just are willing to do things the Cubs won't. They'll defer money. They'll do things so that, because their goal is, okay, they determine, like, with Snell, their starting pitching wasn't good enough last year.
Yeah.
And they basically, big circle, we need to go get a top of the rotation starter. And they basically said, all right, we want him. We'll just figure out how to pay him what he wants. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
The Cubs won't do that. The Cubs would be like, this is what we can pay you. Are you going to take that? And they're like, well, no, I can get more from them. Yeah. And they're like, yes, well, present day money we have more present day money in our deal. And they're like, oh, good for you. I'm going to go play for the fucking Dodgers.
Yeah. Well, and the Dodgers, they trade for Mookie Betts, and then they sign him the year that they trade for him before he became a free agent. They go out, they don't let somebody like Michael Busch stand in the way of them getting Freddie Freeman. So they go out and they sign Freddie Freeman instead of just handing it to the cheap rookie. And they do that over and over again. They get Max Muncy off the scrap heap, but then they sign him to money. Like, it's over and over again. They knew exactly what they were doing with pitching, right? There was no reason that the Cubs couldn't have gotten Snell or couldn't have gotten Glasnow. And I know Snell was hurt for the first half of the year, but there was just like, there's all of these things that are happening.
But that's a good point. So Snell, he has a checkered injury past.
Yeah.
And even when he's not hurt, there's an innings, he gets to about the 6th inning. You know, famously the Rays took him out of a playoff game, World Series game, that he was dealing and everybody. But the Dodgers don't look at that as a reason not to get him. They look at that as an issue to manage. He missed. I'm sure they won't admit it, and he won't admit it. He missed twice as much time as he actually should have this year.
Probably. Yeah.
He could have come back, and they were like, "Don't push it. We want you. We don't really need you till September."
Yeah.
And so he probably people are like, oh yeah, well they signed Ian Snell and he spent 120 days on the injured list. Well, he probably could have only spent 60 on the injured
It would
list.
have been amazing if this would have been with Ian Snell.
Ian, sorry, I always say that. He was my favorite, one of my favorite
Pirates
pirates
pitcher,
of all time. So Blake Snell.
Yeah.
Usually it's Dave that has to correct me.
Right.
But that's another good reason. It's just a completely different way that they run their organization.
Right.
They basically they know, they're like, this doesn't matter, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We just need to get in the playoffs. And I think this came up in the roundtable. They talked about how this regular season went about as poorly as it can go for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
They had to play in the wild card round.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they got through the wild card round, they had to play the other really good team in the National League right away.
Yeah.
And they just
It didn't matter.
Yeah.
Yep.
and now they're set up and they get to play the
Lost
winner
one
of the NL Central Regional.
Yeah.
And
who gives a
they'll maybe spend 5
steamroll.
games
Yeah.
taking care of whoever that is, and then they'll go play in the World Series again.
Yep.
And
there's
basically
no
what it should
reason-
prove to them is that next year they can just fucking do that again.
Well, they will because everybody's signed again, and they literally are just going to do. They're going to do this again for the next 4 or 5 years because that's how long everybody's signed, and they don't care, and it's fine. Like this is
But-
just what it's going to look like.
Well, and at least it's not like the Cubs play in their league and have to deal with that every year. Oh, they do.
Oh God.
That's right.
Yeah. And there's the only reason why I think that the Dodgers may not get Tucker is because there's this kid coming over from Japan next year, this third baseman. His last name is Murakami, who's hit 60 home runs a year for down in Japan.
Yeah.
He's 26 years old. He's a terrible third baseman, but he can DH and he can just hit the shit out of the ball.
Well, they can't. They don't have room for a DH.
I was gonna say DH is kind of
DH
locked
is
up
pretty
on that
well
team.
is pretty
that's
well
true.
taken care of.
But I
for
mean,
them.
they'll just put him at first base. They'll do something with him. They'll if they get Tucker, they'll figure out a way to make this kid work.
They will do the opposite of what the Cubs do and stick him
Yeah.
out in left field.
Yeah.
But you have a good enough bat, but you don't field well enough. That's
Yeah.
where you're playing,
Okay.
pal.
Yep.
No, it's almost exactly what they'll do.
Oh, all right.
Yep.
Oh, we got all off season to talk about how awesome
Yeah.
the Dodgers. I might just become it's
Well-
not even so much rooting for a team like the Dodgers. It's they're just there's no reason the Cubs couldn't be that. Yeah,
No,
maybe
the
the,
pro-
Dodgers can make more
here's-
money, but you're telling me that the
sure.
Cubs could be $60 million, within $60 million, or within $100 million of payroll of them.
Well, here's the problem I have right now. The Cubs should be in a spot where the Dodgers are the big threat in the National League to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're not. They
No.
can't get past the Brewers.
Mhm.
Right.
They're not even in the they're
Right.
not in the Dodgers stratosphere.
No.
And they're fine with it.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother them at all. In fact, I'm sure they use the Dodgers as an excuse not to do that.
Right.
They're like, oh, you know how much we'd have to spend to actually try to beat the Dodgers?
Yeah, I mean,
why
the
would we
Mets-
bother to do that?
the Mets-
You do
the
that
Mets-
because the only way to win the World Series is to beat
Yeah.
the Dodgers in the National
Yeah.
League playoffs. That's why you have to do it.
Yeah.
And if you
Mets
don't
not
like
making-
it, then you shouldn't own a fucking baseball team.
the Mets not making the playoffs is the greatest thing to happen to the Ricketses, but they're going to learn the wrong lesson because the Mets are going to be amazing next year, probably. Or
No, you
thereafter.
could look at it the opposite way, which was so that's why it didn't make any sense. So when you make the Tucker trade,
Mhm.
that should be the signal that they looked at it and said, okay, the Dodgers won the World Series last year. It's really hard to win 2 in a row. It's super hard.
Yep.
And then as the season unfolded, the Braves inexplicably fell apart. They were just gone. They weren't a threat.
Oh yeah.
And then as the season went along, the Mets, who had the best record in the
Yeah.
National League, all of a sudden were terrible.
Yeah.
And so you really ended up where it should have simply been the Cubs and the Dodgers
Yep.
fighting for the pennant.
Yep.
But
Yep.
they didn't. They had just stopped after they'd gotten
Yep.
Tucker. They weren't armed to actually do
Follow
anything
through
in
on
the
that,
fight.
Yep. And even
And
if
it
you
won't break
consider-
like that again. Next year
Right.
they could. Let's say they go out and they get more aggressive and Jed's like, you know what, we really do need to get Mackenzie Gore, and they get Mackenzie Gore and they plug him into the top of the rotation and
Yeah.
say Cade manages in his second full season, he's healthy the whole year,
Yeah.
and Justin Steele comes back in
Yeah.
May and he's pretty good,
Yeah.
and
And you get
you're
Schroeder
like,
back and he's pretty good. And you get Boyd back and he's
And you're
pretty
like,
good.
okay,
So Tyrone
we're-
is pretty good.
they're like, okay, we're good. Well, next year
They're
the
still
Braves
not
will be
anywhere
good.
near.
Next year
Yeah.
the Braves will be good again.
Yep.
The Mets are going to be better.
Yep.
It's like all of a sudden all the competition that kind of cleared away from you
Yeah.
is just right back in front. Is in your way again.
You didn't take advantage of the opportunity that you had, and it was really an opportunity that started with them getting Tucker early on, and you never followed through on it, and that's what's frustrating.
If you had told them in spring training that when the NL playoffs started, the Mets and the Braves wouldn't be in it, and the Phillies would be on the other half of the bracket with the Dodgers, then not getting to the NLCS, should have been a complete failure.
It should, yes, that's a really good way of putting it. Yep.
And they didn't. All that happened, and they didn't make it. And they don't judge it as a failure. Tom's already written, I'm sure, his wonderful letter to the season ticket holders that for some reason I get.
Yeah.
And what a great year it was, and what a great job we did, and how we won a playoff series, and how exciting it was. Wrigley was rocking in October, and blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, well, it was. Those games were fun. Yes, that was fun.
Yeah.
But most of your season sucked, and it just ended the way we all kind of expected it would. But congratulations.
Yep.
Thank you for, if you just count the wins in the playoff games, thank you for 10 fun hours. That's what we got out of this season.
Well, I mean, had they won tonight and then inevitably gotten beaten in like 4 or 5 games by the Dodgers, like how are we looking at the season then at that point?
I don't know,
better.
pretty much the same. Like I don't think the expectation going into the year was that they were going to be. I think that they were probably going to be pretty good. That they probably were going to be as good as the Dodgers anyway. Like I don't know, getting smacked around by the Dodgers, none of this is good enough, and you shouldn't expect to just sort of like the Cubs should be better than we should have higher expectations. The fact that we don't have higher expectations is probably the thing that is the most obviously like astounding thing.
Yeah.
Like the expectations should be higher, and they're not.
And so much of the fan base seems to be fine with this, because when I inevitably go off on them in the next like 3 weeks of articles, some people will get pissed at me and like, it was a great season, they made the playoffs, they did whatever. It's like that shouldn't be the object.
No.
What this exercise.
Right. We should have we should just have higher expectations. That's all it is.
Yep, we should.
Thank God we have the Bears though.
For sure.
Like you were saying, like I want
We'll
to go back
see.
really quick. Sorry. You said that the Cubs are the closest thing to a competent franchise.
Yep.
I don't know that I buy that. In fact, I'm buying.
Do you think it's the Bears?
Or do you think
it's
between both the Bears and the Blackhawks? I think both of them are more competent franchises than the Cubs.
I can't say Blackhawks right now.
I get all my Blackhawk news from Sam Fells, so I know that's not true.
Oh God, yeah.
That
explains it. No offense to Sam, but that explains it.
I would say that even with that, you have to I think the problem with the Cub ownership is I feel like ownership and then the front office is they know better. Like the McCaskies really, really, really want to win. Like George really wants to win, and the Bears spend a shitload of money. They're just not good at it.
Right.
Honestly, if the Cubs had the same attitude with the front office, which seems to have their shit together better than Ryan Poles and his front office does.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not saying I'm not like John Green. Like when I have Greenberg on, he just spends the whole time shitting on Poles. What a terrible job he's doing. I don't agree with that. I think Poles is fine. Right. I don't think he's exceptional. I don't think he's bad. I think he's fine. And I think having Ben Johnson around helps everything.
Yeah.
But I do think you look at it and the Cubs, they actually made the playoffs this year. They actually, what I'm saying is, I feel like I'm damning them with this because I feel like they know better. Like they know this is a half measure. And that's the issue I have with them. They know what to do, but they also put an artificial governor on themselves and they won't push past it to do what they really need to do.
Yeah. The sad part is this is the same ownership group and at least one piece of the front office that was here in 2016. So they should know better.
Yeah. I do think it's pretty apparent that the brains of the organization is what left though.
This is
right. 100%.
Yeah.
I don't
some shit that Jed said. The difference is, I think Jed will settle for something. Like, he'll go to Mr. Ricketts, like the Bregman thing, whether that would have worked or not. I don't think Theo leaves Ricketts' office without an actual competitive offer that he can make to Bregman. Where
Right,
Jed
yeah.
literally, you could tell from the press conference, knew that he gave a bullshit offer to them. That it was going to get
Yeah.
turned down, and he was frustrated by it. But that's what he could do.
Yeah.
That I think is different. Theo was Theo, and he had a lot more. But even he clearly ran in. There's a reason he left when he did.
Right. No. I
It all started
after
after the Yu
Here's the thing.
Darvish thing, and he couldn't.
Yeah.
Theo couldn't bully his way into the things he wanted to do anymore.
Yeah.
Which is
I
what he
think
did do until they won the World Series, and
the
then all of a sudden
Cubs
the Ricketts became the experts.
Like I'll just go back to my original point, which was the Cubs should be way better considering the payroll that they have, but it's also true that they should have a higher payroll. Like I think this front office with $230 million has done a piss poor job of like it's still a $230 million payroll.
Yep.
And it's a $230 million payroll because they overpay mediocre free agents.
That's on the front office. That's my point.
I know.
You can't. And so, like, I don't know that this is like a competent front office. They got lucky with these playoffs because Kyle Tucker became available. They got Shota for an insanely good contract because he just happened to come to the major leagues when salaries were being tamped down. And it's this.
Well,
is
I
not
think they
a front
deserve.
office.
I think they deserve credit for Shota, because anybody could have signed him to that deal,
Sure.
Yep.
and they didn't. The Cubs did. The other guy I think they deserve a lot of credit for is Cade Horton, because they
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was a
Took a
very
risk there.
atypical draft pick for them. That was a guy who
Yeah.
showed a lot of promise over a very short amount of
Yes,
time, and
yeah.
they're like, we're typically drafting, we can't get a guy with this much
Yeah.
upside, and they just went ahead and they did it, and it worked.
If the
But
reports are
their
right,
other
though,
draft picks
no.
have not been good.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's kind of like this is not a front office that deserves that kind of credit. This is not a front office that deserves to be like.
Right.
I
I will say
gotta-
I don't know enough about the Blackhawks and how the rebuild is going. What I do know
Yeah.
is it's very easy to look at the White Sox and the
Mm.
Bulls and the Bears and say none of them are run as well as the Cubs are. And I'm not saying that to credit the Cubs,
Yeah. I
because
know.
this whole lament wasn't about how great the Cubs are. It's about the sorry state of
Yeah,
Chicago
of
sports.
Yeah, I don't know. I still like. I have more hope. I think I have more hope in what the Blackhawks and what the Bears are doing than I do in what the Cubs are doing.
Well, is part of that because they play in capped leagues where they were, because part of our biggest frustration with the Cubs is we
Yeah.
know they have a lot more money that they could
Yeah,
spend
that's a
than they
good
will
point.
spend.
That's a good question. All right, that's an existential question I'll have to think about over the offseason.
I don't think in
a weird
they're-
way,
they're-
I do think that the only team in this city that the salary cap hurts is the Bears,
yeah.
because I do think
Ah.
they would go past it. We all live with this illusion. It's not an illusion. It's a situation that changed that nobody gives them credit for. The Bears got a reputation for being cheap because they were cheap.
Yeah,
Right.
They earned it, but they earned it because they didn't have any money.
cash. Yeah,
But then all of a sudden, every NFL team got a shitload of money, and the Bears have not been cheap since then. In fact,
right.
they waste money. They
Yeah.
don't know what they're doing. They throw money
Yeah.
at the wrong shit all the time.
Yeah,
And so you almost wonder if maybe it'd be the Bears and the Cowboys would be the two best teams, because they'd just be willing.
Possibly.
George and even the all the investors, all those guys are dying. They all want to win a Super Bowl.
yeah.
And I could see them literally just throwing money at people.
Well, you'd have to go back to like.
It doesn't mean they do it right.
Right. You'd have to go back to like, years before this. I feel like Philly, with their success recently, would probably be up there too. Like, they could be pretty competitive with the
Yeah,
teams
now they
built.
would with Lurie, because they basically there
Yeah.
are some teams like Philly is doing what the Saints did, which is it's a smart thing to
Phillies?
do, right?
Yeah,
Not the Phillies.
No, the
They're
Eagles.
trying.
Yeah.
The Eagles. They're trying to keep their window open as long as they possibly
Yeah,
can, and
yeah,
it's smart
yeah.
because you never are guaranteed to have this much talent at once.
that's right.
The Saints
Right.
did it for a long time, and at some point they finally got themselves in such horrible salary cap hell. They couldn't defer stuff anymore. That now they're trapped where they can't add people. Like they couldn't sign any free agents last year. But it was worth it. They only won one Super Bowl, but they were competitive. They were the Saints. They were like the worst franchise ever.
Yeah.
And then for there's a whole generation of people, football fans now, who don't associate them with fans with bags on their heads and all that shit because they were competitive year in and year out.
Yeah, they were really good. Yeah.
And so for a few years, they're just going to have to eat it, and then it'll start over, and they can go after it again. The Falcons got themselves in that spot.
Yeah.
And they're kind of doing like a half-assed trying to rebuild. But it was funny. There were a lot of people who were like, the salary cap in the NFL doesn't really exist. If you want to sign a player, you can find a way to sign him.
Right.
But that only works for a finite amount of time. And then at some point, you can't defer anything anymore.
Right.
And now you're screwed.
Right.
So
the Bears will get to that point eventually, hopefully, right? The good, you want your team to get to that point because then.
I mean, if you want to look at the example of the team that kept the window open the longest, it was the Patriots.
Yeah.
Because they really only, there was one guy that they kept kept pushing his money down and because he's a terrible college football coach, but they had the greatest coach of all time who basically could just jettison players and they would find a replacement. As long as they had Brady and Belichick, they could figure out a way to make it work. Nobody else can do that.
Yeah, well, that's what the Chiefs are trying to do, and that's what the Chiefs kind of have done, right?
Yeah.
They've sort of,
and they've actually done. The Chiefs have done a really good. Done a really good job at it. They
like this year. We'll see. This year they're probably finally hitting that thing.
And it happened like 3 years ago, where what they're good at is they'll have one bad year.
Yeah. Right.
And it's because of the fact that they can't keep guys.
Yeah.
And so, like kind of right now, like they don't have wide receivers.
Right.
Yeah.
And when Travis goes off to just be Mr. Taylor Swift and his money goes away, then they can actually invest in a different position again. But they do a good job of just figuring, and it helps when you have it. Obviously, there's a
well, that's the thing.
If you have a great head coach and you have a great quarterback, that quarterback and that coach can make a lot of shit on offense work that nobody else can. So then you can buy yourself, you can be competitive in a year when you normally shouldn't be because Patrick Mahomes is great and Andy Reid is really smart. And then the next year you hit on some of those free agents and you have a really good team and you go win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I'm sure it's going to happen with Caleb and Ben.
Yep. We just hope I don't know. That's why I'm like the Super Bowl window is 3 years in one. We'll see what happens after that. Right, as long as Caleb's on his rookie deal, and as long as they have some of this money that's not really tied up, kind of in Montez.
Yeah, I mean, the thing they've done that has been smart is that there's really nobody on a long-term deal beyond
Edmonds
Caleb.
Gone after this year. Yeah, Edmonds is gone after this year. He can go.
Even DJ Moore's extension was designed to pay him a shitload of money before they have to give Caleb his big quarterback extension.
Yep.
Right.
And then they'll still, he's not going to take up all the cap, so then they can decide, all right, how many years can we give Rome? How many years can we give whatever? But you don't have a bunch of veterans stuck on the roster, which preclude you then from keeping some of the younger players that you want to keep. Yeah, they've been very smart about that.
Like Tooney and Jackson get expensive next year, but then after that they're good. Like it's just like
those deals, their extensions they're all designed that their money goes away when Caleb becomes a free agent.
Yeah, everybody does. Yeah, everybody is. Yeah.
So honestly, now is the time to pay those guys. Or when you sign, like DJ's extension goes beyond. But the heavy money is in the first, in the front of it. Now, that occasionally can backfire. Famously, it did with one Bear.
Yeah.
The Bears signed Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs to extensions at roughly the same time. And they signed them so that Urlacher's contract kept getting bigger. It was backloaded. Yeah. And Lance's was front loaded so that they would basically they could both get all their money, but it would basically take up the same amount of cap space because Brian's would go up and Lance's would go down. And then Lance got pissed when his money started to go down and he held out. That's when, remember, he went to go do his opening of his restaurant.
Oh, with the Niners. Yeah.
And they're like, Lance, we went through this. We paid you. This is how much money you're making over the 6 years.
Yeah.
You just got most of your beings. Like, yeah, well, I'm not taking a pay cut. It's like, that's not a, it's like, Jesus Christ, that's not a pay cut. It's just how your salary was structured.
It was in your contract when you signed it. Yeah.
But he's like, oh, I figured I just renegotiate. Yeah, well, there's no money to renegotiate because now we're paying Brian.
Right. So
So-
tough shit. Yeah.
That's one of the joys, I'm sure, of dealing with athletes.
All right.
All right. Well, we turned the recap into an hour and a half, and we did a lot of bear talk.
Yeah,
Supposed
there
to
we
be
go.
20-minute podcast is on an hour and 25 minutes. So
Yeah, par for the course.
Are we all in agreement? Go Dodgers rest of the way.
well, I don't want that. I would just assume the Blue Jays or the Mariners win, but I don't want to. I could live an entire life without the Brewers ever going back to the World Series. So.
Yes, 100%.
That'd be nice.
I don't like.
Yeah, I like to see the Dodgers. I like to see the Dodgers win and then get beat in the World Series.
I'm good to root for the Dodgers. Like I'm good to root for.
I don't hate.
Brewers,
I don't
maybe other
care.
Yeah.
But I think it would be, for me, it would be
Right.
more fun if the Blue Jays or especially the Mariners. The Mariners
Yeah,
finally
yeah,
won.
yeah.
their
Yeah, that for sure. They're long suffering.
The cool
So
thing is now I have some time to actually go back now the Mariners and the LCS and watch that documentary, the YouTube thing that boys what's his name, John.
oh, John Boyce. Yep,
Yeah,
that is a really good watch. If
that
you ever
thing
get a
that he put
chance.
together.
Yeah, I think that only goes up to about 2020 though. But
Yeah, it's cool. It's good. It'll still be good.
for sure.
All right.
All right. Well, we will have some sort of regular off-season pod to take care of all of the exciting moves.
Yeah,
the Jets
boy,
gotta
there's
make.
so much that we're gonna have daily things coming at us. I'm sure.
Right.